A single meal of this plant can drop blood sugar by 30% within 2 hours. The pharmaceutical industry has known this for decades. Yet you will not find it in any diabetes treatment protocol. You will not see it recommended by mainstream nutritionists. The Nopal cactus, Opuntia species, has been erased from Western medicine despite thousands of years of indigenous use. The Aztecs called it the foundation of their diet. They built an empire on its pads. They understood what modern science refuses to acknowledge. Nature already solved the blood sugar crisis. But there is no patent on a cactus pad. There is no profit in a plant that grows without irrigation, without fertilizer, without human intervention. The system demands expensive interventions. It demands lifetime customers, not cures. So they buried the research. They dismissed it as folk medicine. They replaced ancestral wisdom with synthetic compounds that cost $500 per month. The nopal still grows wild across the desert, still offers its medicine freely. The revolution begins when we remember what the ancients knew by instinct. The Opuntia cactus thrives where nothing else survives. It converts brutal desert heat into thick mucilaginous pads loaded with soluble fiber. This fiber forms a protective gel in your digestive system. The gel slows glucose absorption like a biological time-release mechanism. When researchers tested Nopal against common diabetes drugs, the results were startling. A 300-gram serving reduced post-meal blood sugar spikes by 30%. Metformin, the standard pharmaceutical, achieved only 25% reduction with far more side effects. But the pharmaceutical approach generated billions in revenue. The cactus approach generated zero. The choice was never about efficacy. Indigenous communities across Mexico never needed the studies. They observed the effect across generations. They consumed nopal before meals as preventive medicine. They roasted the pads, grilled them, added them to stews. Type 2 diabetes was virtually unknown in traditional populations consuming nopal regularly. Then came the Western diet. The sacred cactus was replaced with white bread and Coca-Cola. Inside each nopal pad lives a complex arsenal of polysaccharides. These long-chain carbohydrates cannot be broken down quickly. They form viscous solutions that trap glucose molecules. The mechanism is simple. Slow absorption means stable blood sugar. But nopal's power extends beyond fiber. It contains 14 different types of betalains, nitrogen-containing pigments with profound antioxidant properties. These compounds reduce oxidative stress in pancreatic beta cells. Beta cells produce insulin. Protect them, and you preserve metabolic function. Damage them, and you develop diabetes. The industrial food system delivers constant oxidative assault. Processed seed oils, refined sugars, chemical preservatives. Your pancreas degrades under continuous attack. Nopal rebuilds what processed food destroys. The science is clear. The mechanism is understood. Yet medical schools teach pharmaceutical management, not botanical prevention. For 9,000 years, the nopal fed the people of Mesoamerica. Archaeological evidence shows Opuntia cultivation dating to 7,000 BCE. The Aztecs wove it into their foundation myth. Their capital, Tenochtitlan, was named after the nopal, place of the stone cactus. The plant provided food, medicine, dye, and building materials. It required nothing in return. No irrigation systems, no crop rotation, no soil amendments. The nopal simply existed, offering abundance without extraction. Spanish conquistadors documented its central role in indigenous diets. They noted the health and vitality of populations consuming it daily. Then colonization brought wheat, cattle, and sugar cane. The sacred cactus became a symbol of poverty. To eat nopal was to admit you could not afford imported European food. The psychological conquest was complete. Entire generations learned to despise their most powerful ally. The wound has not healed. Modern agriculture cannot commodify the nopal. The pads do not survive long-distance shipping without sophisticated cold chains. They cannot be harvested mechanically without damage. They require careful despining by hand. They spoil quickly after harvest. They refuse standardization. Each pad varies in size, shape, thickness, and mucilage content. The barcode system cannot account for such biological diversity. Supermarkets demand uniform products with extended shelf life. The nopal offers neither. It offers only nutrition, resilience, and medicinal power. So the industry simply ignored it. They focused on crops that could be mechanized, standardized, and stored indefinitely. Potatoes, corn, soybeans, these became the foundation of the modern food supply. Not because they were superior, because they were controllable. The nopal refused to be tamed. Fresh nopal tastes like a cross between green beans and okra, with a slight tartness. The texture is crisp when raw, tender when cooked. The mucilage creates a subtle thickness that transforms soups and stews. Grilled nopal develops a smoky complexity that rivals any vegetable. It pairs beautifully with lime, cilantro, tomatoes, and chili. Traditional Mexican cuisine showcases it in countless preparations. Nopalito salad, nopal tacos, nopal with eggs. The applications are limited only by imagination. Yet American grocery stores treat it as an exotic specialty item. You might find it in the ethnic foods section, overpriced and misunderstood. Or you will not find it at all. The flavor profile challenges nothing. The culinary barrier is purely psychological. We have been trained to fear plants that look different. The spines intimidate us. The mucilage confuses us, so we choose iceberg lettuce instead. The Opuntia cactus laughs at drought. It thrives in USDA zones 9-11, tolerating temperatures from 20 degree hours to 110 degrees. Plant a pad in sandy, well-draining soil. Water it once, then forget about it. Within weeks, roots establish. Within months, new pads emerge. Within a year, you have a renewable food source requiring zero maintenance. The cactus harvests rain when it falls. It stores water in its thick pads. It produces pads continuously throughout the growing season. Each pad can be harvested, eaten, or replanted. The system regenerates itself infinitely. No farmer in history has gone bankrupt growing nopal, because you cannot fail at cultivating a plant that refuses to die. This is the true threat to industrial agriculture. Food sovereignty through biological resilience. A 2014 study published in the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics tested nopal on 24 diabetic patients. Participants consumed 300 grams of grilled nopal before a high-carbohydrate meal. Blood glucose levels dropped 30% compared to the control group. Insulin response improved by 18%. The effect lasted for 3 hours post-meal. No pharmaceutical intervention matched these results without side effects. Another study in phytotherapy research analyzed nopal's impact on lipid profiles. Total cholesterol decreased by 15%. LDL cholesterol dropped by 20%. Triglycerides fell by 24%. The mechanism involved nopal's ability to bind dietary fats in the intestine. The research is extensive, peer-reviewed, and ignored. Over 200 published papers document nopal's metabolic effects. 0 major health organizations include it in diabetes guidelines. The disconnect is not scientific. It is economic. Diabetes affects 537 million adults globally. The pharmaceutical industry generates $327 billion annually treating it. Insulin alone accounts for $48 billion in sales. A lifetime of medication costs the average diabetic over $250,000. A nopal cactus costs 3 at a Mexican grocery store. One plant produces 40-60 edible pads per year. The math is devastating for the medical-industrial complex. So they frame nopal as unproven, anecdotal, folkloric. They demand decades of additional research. They require randomized controlled trials with thousands of participants. They set regulatory barriers that cost hundreds of millions to overcome. No one will fund those trials for a plant you cannot patent. Meanwhile, millions develop preventable diabetes. They receive prescriptions, not education. They become customers, not gardeners. The system sustains itself through manufactured ignorance. Growing nopal is an act of medical rebellion. It declares that your health belongs to you, not pharmaceutical shareholders. Start with a single pad from a Mexican market or online supplier. Plant it in the sunniest, driest spot in your yard. If you live in a cold climate, grow it in a container you can bring indoors. Harvest pads when they are young and tender, about 4 to 6 inches long. Use thick gloves or tongs to avoid the spines. Scrape off the spines with a knife or burn them off with a torch. Slice the pads into strips. Grill, sauté, boil, or eat them raw in salads. Consume them before high-carbohydrate meals for maximum blood sugar control. Share pads with neighbors. Plant them in community gardens. Teach the next generation what the previous generation forgot. The revolution will not be pharmaceutical. It will be botanical, resilient, and free. The Nopal represents everything industrial agriculture fears. Autonomy, resilience, decentralization. A plant that thrives without corporate input. A medicine that costs nothing. A food system that cannot be monopolized. History shows us what we sacrificed for convenience. Ancestors understood that the best pharmacy was the garden. They knew which plants regulated blood sugar, which healed wounds, which nourished deeply. We traded that knowledge for barcodes and prescription pads, but the knowledge survives in the desert. It survives in the stubborn persistence of the Opuntia cactus. Every pad is a testament to what we lost. Every new plant is a reclamation. The choice is simple: grow or remain dependent.